We begin this morning with the latest on the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in the Uvalde, Texas. Funeral services have begun for the victims of last week's shooting that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. Later today, services will take place for Irma Garcia. She's one of the teachers who died while trying to protect her students. Her husband, Joe Garcia, will also be laid to rest today. He died just 48 hours after the shooting and visiting the memorial outside the school. They are survived by 4 children. There are also new developments in the investigation this morning regarding the exterior door the gunman used to enter the school and whether it was propped open before the shooting. We have team coverage this morning on the Uvalde shooting from NBC's Ali Rafa, Guad Vanenguez, and Julia Ainsley. Let's begin with NBC News Justice correspondent Julia Ainsley with the latest on the investigation into just what happened in Uvalde. Julia, good morning. One big thing that has come into question is security at the elementary school. Police originally said that the gunman got in through a back door that had been propped open by a teacher, but now they're saying something different, and this is not the first inconsistency we've seen in this case. What's going on?
Yeah, that's right. It seems that we get a lot of new information each time we hear these spokespeople representing the Texas DPS talk to us. The latest is that this teacher who is said to have propped open a door, apparently she was bringing food back and forth from her car into her classroom. Remember, this was a day of a lot of celebrations at Robb Elementary. They just had an honor roll ceremony. It was almost the end of the year. The story at first had been she had propped the door open, and that's how the gunman got into the school without anyone stopping him. At first, we thought there was a school resource officer. That person apparently was not even at the scene. But we'd always heard that that door was propped open. Well, yesterday, her lawyer said, no, she saw the gunman approaching, ran inside, and slammed the door shut. And that typically, when you close the doors, they automatically lock. That is the security system at this school. Now, though, we're hearing from the Texas police that she did not. Yes, she closed the door, but it did not lock. So more details coming out here. This teacher has not been identified. Of course, she wants to keep her privacy because people would be angry that she had left this door open if the gunman was coming. So she's protecting her privacy, speaking out through a lawyer. It's a really tense situation just about this door, whether it was propped open and whether it actually locked when she pulled it closed. Of course, if it did not lock, that would be a problem with the way the school is supposed to be secured.
And Julia, we know that the school police chief, Peter Arredondo, the school district's police chief, has come under fire for his response to the shooting. It's understood that he incorrectly believed the gunman was barricaded in the building and ordered officers to remain outside during the shooting. And we've heard those chilling stories from parents pleading with officers to go inside. And after more than an hour, federal agents reportedly then disobeyed that chief's orders and entered the school and then shot the gunman. So given all of this, where do things stand with this police chief right now?
Yeah, that's right. We keep hearing that Chief Arredondo, he is the head of a police force of just 6 that oversee the Uvalde school district. He was the chief, and he's the one who was the commander that day who said there's a barricaded situation, although there are a lot of questions because there were 911 calls coming from the children, and they could obviously hear shots and screaming inside these classrooms. He had decided that there was no more of a threat to life. That's the call you would make when you decide that it's a barricaded subject rather than an active shooter. He is the key person. I think everyone in the media and anyone investigating this incident wants to talk to. Why did he make that call, given the information that he had, and what information did he have that led to that call? He at first was cooperating with investigators. Now we're being told that the Texas police overseeing this investigation have not heard from him in the past 2 days, and they did ask him for a follow-up interview. We should also add the Justice Department will likely want to talk to him as well, because we learned over the weekend they will also be conducting a review into this incident.
And so let's dig into that review. What are the next steps into this investigation, and when can we expect more from the Justice Department?
Right. So this is called a critical incident review. It has happened before, after shootings. It's really looking forward. It's trying to prevent another tragedy like this from happening and getting best practices out to law enforcement over what they should do in a situation like this. It's not as much looking backwards and holding people accountable, although they will be conducting interviews. As far as the timeline, I'm hearing perhaps a couple of months. It's not something we could see turned around next week. This might not be the place where we get the immediate answers that we're looking for. Those might be more likely to come from the state level, but it should be able to dig into some of these key details on a very thorough level. That at least is what we're being promised from the Justice Department.
Important updates on this investigation. Julia, thank you so much. Now let's bring in NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas, who's in Uvalde, Texas. Guad, good morning. We just heard some new information about the investigation. Obviously, this community is grieving, and in grief, there's a lot. There's anger, there's denial, and so much more. So what are you hearing from families, and how are they feeling about the investigation?
Sinclair, good morning. Well, for the families, it's been a difficult week. A lot of them are now focusing on the services happening around town. We have two different masses today. One of those masses is for the teacher that died and her husband. So a lot of the families are just focusing on getting through these services. In fact, some have left notes on their doors asking for their privacy, asking to be left alone as they grieve their lost ones.
And Guad,
we continue to do this time and time and time again, yet nobody wants to take substantive action, and we have got to start standing. We've got to start doing it on our own. The overwhelming majority of educators in this state do not want to bear the burden of being armed on their public school campuses.
Sinclair, we were going to play that in just a few seconds. Getting on to other information that's happening here. There's been a lot of talk about Senator Ted Cruz discussing reinforcing security in schools. We've all heard the interviews where he talked about the one door in, one door out, and reinforcing security. There's been some pushback in the state of Texas, and what you just saw was a member from the teachers union, one of the teachers union, speaking about their stance when it comes to reinforcing securities in schools. A lot of the members of this union went to the state capitol, to Austin, to ask for gun reform. In fact, they went to Senator Cruz's office and handed a letter where they're asking for this type of reform, gun reform, and not so much to reinforce security.
And Guad, obviously, it's a difficult time for this community, especially as you're talking about, right? There's competing conversation around what legislation is needed. What are families saying as they're remembering their loved ones?
As I mentioned, a lot of the families have chosen to keep quiet, to focus on the services. You know, it's overwhelming when you look at the list of services happening throughout town. You know, they started this week, the ones happening yesterday, today. You have two different masses. You have visitation services for some other victims. It is overwhelming for a town this small to have that many services. So the families will be focusing on that. They're trying to get through these difficult days. In fact, the Secretary of Education was in Uvalde, and he tried to focus on the human aspect of his visit. Let's hear what he had to say.
I'm just here to, as a father, as an educator, to express my deepest sympathy with the Uvalde community, with the families of those who perished, both the children and the educators. This shouldn't happen. I'm here grieving with them, and we'll continue to keep them in our prayers.
Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona here in Uvalde, speaking of what he felt like being here. As I mentioned, the families focusing on these services. We should also mention that yesterday the city mayor did swear in all the city council members, including Pete Arredondo, who's been at the center of a lot of discussion. The school police chief has been sworn in as a city council member. As I repeat, Sinclair, the families here continue to mourn with services happening throughout the town.
A lot to unpack, especially as these families are grieving. Guad, thank you so much. And on Capitol Hill, lawmakers in the House and Senate are debating potential gun reform legislation amid growing pressure for federal action to stop gun violence. Today, a bipartisan group of senators will meet virtually to find a way forward on measures that could overcome a Republican filibuster. And in the House, the Judiciary Committee is holding an emergency session to discuss a raft of new gun laws, with a vote expected tomorrow. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Rafa joins us now to talk about this. Good morning, Ali. Let's start with the House Judiciary Committee. What gun reform measures are they considering? And realistically, how soon could we see this get a vote on the floor of the House?
Yeah, Sinclair, well, we heard about this emergency markup meeting yesterday, and that's really to go down and tick off some gun legislation proposals in this bigger, wider legislation proposal that's called the Protecting Our Kids Act. And that includes some proposals like raising the minimum age to purchase a long gun from the age of 18 to 21, banning the sale of high-capacity magazines. It also includes some more regulations on bump stocks, ghost guns, as well as the safe storage of guns inside homes. Now, It's unclear whether these bills will be presented individually or as one mass proposal, but it does have a good chance of passing in the House when it does. We already know there is a plan when the House comes back on June 7th. Leader Hoyer and Speaker Pelosi have already announced a plan to vote on a bill to expand red flag laws that has already been proposed. And so this is just another sign that there's an urgency on Capitol Hill to get some sort of legislation done, not just in the Senate, but also on the House side too, Sinclair.
And you talked about urgency. Something we see a little less is often bipartisan collaboration, but a bipartisan group of senators will meet today and talk about these gun reforms and legislation. Might we see an actual proposal, and what do you expect from those talks?
Yeah, so we know this group, this bipartisan group of senators, 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans, have been speaking since last week. They were in communication over the weekend via Zoom, text, calls. They spoke yesterday over Zoom. We also expect them to speak today. And they're talking about a variety of smaller proposals, not vast gun legislation, not an assault on assault weapons, much smaller proposals like expanding background checks, incentivizing possibly for states to implement red flag laws, putting more money into mental health services, safe gun storage. And this is why Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who's really been leading this effort, says he's so hopeful because these are smaller, more incremental fixes that he says are more realistic and have more hope of getting passed. Listen to a bit of his reaction to these meetings.
We are going to work every single minute of every single day over the course of this week and next week to try to get enough of our Republican colleagues to yes. I hope they are moved by what they have witnessed in the way that the rest of this country has been moved. This is a test of democracy. I mean, I think a lot of people in this country are giving up on democracy. And if we fail to come together in the wake of last week, I think a lot more people will choose to give up on democracy.
And remember, Murphy needs to find 10 Republican senators to, whenever these bills do come down for a vote, to vote with Democrats and break that filibuster to get any sort of change solidified, Sinclair.
And there are lots of calls for change. We heard that a bit from Guad earlier. What is the White House doing about this renewed push for gun laws? And do we know if the president is considering his own executive action, especially given what feels a bit like deja vu, right? A horrific mass shooting, calls for gun control, but then nothing really changes.
Yeah, Sinclair. Well, President Biden has to walk a sort of fine line here. He wants this to be bipartisan. He wants to let these senators on both sides of the aisle do their work without his involvement. And he said that he really doesn't have much of a say, with the exception of, as you said, executive orders. But that's something that the White House doesn't want to have to do. Yesterday, he said that he has full faith in Leader McConnell, in Texas Senator John Cornyn, who's also involved in some of these talks. And we know that this is personal to him. This is something that he took upon himself after Sandy Hook. He was tasked with leading gun reforms under President Obama, and we know those failed. So he really does have an effort and a personal involvement in this, in trying to see this forward. But his ability to do so is definitely limited, Sinclair.
Important analysis. Ali, thank you so much. Turning now to Ukraine and the intense fighting in the eastern region of the country. The governor of Ukraine's Luhansk region says more than half of the key city of Severodonetsk is now under Russian control. Their swift advance through the region is putting more pressure on the U.S. to support Ukraine. And President Biden signaled he would send advanced missiles to Ukraine in an op-ed he wrote in the New York Times. NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter brings us the latest from Ukraine. Molly.
Good morning to you guys from Bucha. And I just want to show you, before we get into the headlines of the day, I want to show you where I am. We are at a market in Bucha, and it has been extraordinary in the last couple of days since I've been back in the country to see this city, which has been through so much, to kind of bounce back. And you see families out here. It's strawberry season. You just see life coming back. Down the street, we were at a church where there was that big mass grave where we spent so much time. There's now green grass growing over that. There flowers are coming up. This was a mall which was attacked, and the last time I was here, this whole area was absolutely trashed. It could not be different, though, of course, than the headlines of the day. And we are focused on the Donbass, and we are focused on the new U.S. advanced weapon systems that are now finally coming to the Ukrainian military. They have been asking for these. It is what soldiers, it is what fighters, troops in the Donbass have been asking for, and it has been what Ukrainian officials from the office of the president, from the defense minister, the foreign minister, have been asking the U.S. for. So Courtney Kuby and Carol Lee report that the U.S. will supply longer range, multiple launch rocket systems. They're called MLRs, and these will come. They won't come in time, though, guys, for that critical battle in the Donbass, on the condition, a senior administration official says, that Ukraine has agreed not to use them to launch rockets into Russia. A senior administration official also tells our colleagues that the package would include $700 million, including other weapon systems like Javelins. One of the key points, though, is training. So Ukrainian troops will need training on these advanced weapon systems, according to a defense official to our Courtney Kuby and Carol Lee. That training is down to 1 to 2 weeks. And I do just want to bring you up to date on Severodonetsk. It is that city in that pocket of the Donbass we've been talking so much about. According to the regional governor, Russians control 70% of that city. Ukrainian troops who've been fighting in that city have now retreated to other positions. There are still civilians inside. There are no evacuations out and no aid. The Russian forces are moving in, closing in that pocket on the map. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Holly Hunter, thank you so much for that report. Now, let's bring in Jim Townsend for more on the situation in Ukraine. He's a former Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary for NATO and Europe under President Obama. Jim, good morning. What do you make of the shift by President Biden to now send these long-range missile systems to Ukraine, particularly after he just told reporters we are not going to send Ukraine rocket systems that can strike Russia? Break this down for us.
Well, it's been a long time in coming. As your report said, the Ukrainians have been asking for this, but I think it's really the impact on the battlefield that has really pushed this decision to go now, despite the debate within the administration on what might happen in terms of the usage against Russia or other issues they might have had. I think now, given the battlefield, they need these long-range rocket-fired artillery to knock out these offensives that the Russians are making in the Donbass. The Russians, as your report said, they surround, whether it's Mariupol or these other towns, they surround those towns and then they pound them with artillery. And to fight back against that, they need the range that this MLRS will provide. And I think it's this fact on the battlefield turned the tide in the administration. It's needed now, and they've got to not waste any time getting it over there.
And Jim, the reality is, which you spoke to a bit, Russia is advancing quickly throughout eastern Ukraine. Do you think there's anything the Ukrainian military can do at this point to slow the Russians down?
Well, they're doing as much as they possibly can with what they have. And this MLRS is going to help. The 155 millimeter howitzers that began to arrive over the past few weeks will help. They have to blunt those advances, and they're doing a pretty good job. It's a bit of a slog for the Russians. This is not easy, and the job for the Ukrainians is to make this as painful as possible, to slow them down, and to make sure they're not caught in some type of situation where they're surrounded themselves by the Russians. So they've got to be fleet of foot. They've got to be able to move. So counter battery radar, the MLRS coming in, armor that's coming in as well is going to be important as they try to recapture land. There's tanks coming in from allies. So they're getting the supplies, but this is a war of attrition. And for Ukraine, they have got to survive. That's their number one goal, is just to survive every day, to fight that next day. And this MLRS is going to help them do it. So far, they've been doing a pretty good job.
And of course, Ukrainians are feeling the bulk of the pain, but it's not just them, right? We're learning that Russia is responding to the European Union's oil embargo by cutting off gas supplies to several countries in Europe. How long do you think this battle over natural resources can continue before both sides potentially harm themselves?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And this is something we have to worry about is we're all of us now, including here in the United States, but particularly in Europe, as gas and oil are now going to be restricted. The European Union just passed a sixth sanctions package where they're going to try to end almost 90% of the oil going into the EU will be ended by the end of the year. So that's wintertime. And so the Europeans are going to feel it. I think it was the Netherlands that is now going to have their energy supplies cut off because they're not going to pay any rubles. That's what the Russians are asking for. So this is going to chip away at the unity in Europe. It's going to be a tough road for European leaders and for President Biden to keep everyone together as the winter comes, and that people in their homes are going to feel the effect of not necessarily having the kind of energy supplies they might have had last year. So if we're in it for the long term, and we've got to be in it for the long term, we've got to stay unified, and we've got to find workarounds for things like energy shortages.
I'm glad you said that. Tough road, long road, but it's something we're going to have to be in. Jim Townsend, thank you so much. Now, let's get a check at your morning news now weather. Michelle Grossman joins us now. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. So good to see you. We are continuing to track severe weather. We have a slow-moving cold front, so another day where we're watching showers and storms. This is what it looks like on radar right now. We've been watching this all night long. We're continuing to watch this, and this is going to be a story throughout the afternoon and evening hours. So here's that cold front. Clear to see on the radar here. You can see lots of lightning, some heavy rain, some orange, yellows, reds. That's indicating where that heavy rain is falling. The green is showing where that flash flood watch is, or the flood watch is. We're seeing flash flooding too. So 18 million people at risk today. That cold front's going to slide to the east, slide down to the south. So from the Great Lakes all the way through the Mississippi Valley into the southern plains, we're looking at the chance of some hail. Could be large at times, some damaging winds that could cause some destruction. Also the chance of an isolated tornado or two. It's a low chance, but it's still not a zero chance. And then as we go throughout Thursday, this is going to slide off to the east. So now 15 million people at risk. Winds gusting up to 16 miles per hour. Could see some damaging hail as well. Tornado threat is low once again, but it's not zero. So we need to keep that in the back of our head, have a safety plan if we do see a tornado pop up. Where you see the yellow there, that's where we're seeing the slight risk. So anywhere from Atlantic City, Washington, Charlottesville, Richmond, Salisbury, Maryland, that's where we're seeing the slight risk. Also heavy rain. That's going to be a big factor today. It's been a big factor all week long. Where you see the darker colors, once again, the oranges, reds, yellows in the southern plains, parts of Oklahoma into Texas, we could see quite a bit of rain. We've already seen 4 inches in some spots. We're going to add to that. That could lead to flash flooding. And then also parts in the Northeast, we are looking at that flooding rain as well. And I just want to remind you, first day of the Atlantic hurricane season. Can you believe it? I know.
What letter are we on? Isn't that a thing?
It's a thing, yes. But we're not on a letter yet. We are watching a system. Could become a tropical storm. Most likely won't, but it would be Alex.
Okay, hurricanes to watch out for. Michelle Grossman, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.